Gal Gadot is done playing nice with Disney. After a shocking scene featuring Rachel Zegler was cut from the Snow White trailer, things took a turn for the worse. Promises were broken, tension skyrocketed, and Gadot's frustration with the studio hit a boiling point. Why did Disney make such a drastic move? And how did it lead to an intense clash between the actresses? With social media backlash reaching new heights, this remake could be in serious trouble even before it hits theaters. Is this the final straw for Disney's so-called woke agenda? Stay tuned to uncover the explosive details behind this Snow White disaster. Gal Gadot finds herself in a heated conflict with Disney executives as tensions escalate behind the scenes of the Snow White remake. What started with a promise has now turned into broken commitments, role shifts, and a major controversy surrounding the removal of Rachel Zegler from the trailer. This unexpected move has triggered outrage, not only among fans but also from Gadot herself, who is reportedly furious. She's not just fighting to protect her role as the evil queen, she's challenging the very studio she once trusted. With the trailer facing overwhelming criticism across social media, especially on YouTube, where negativity is mounting, many are beginning to wonder, is this live-action remake doomed before it even hits theaters? The story unfolding behind the scenes is one that Disney certainly doesn't want you to hear. At the recent D23 Expo, the struggles facing the Walt Disney Company became even more apparent. Once a powerhouse for timeless classics and beloved animated films, Disney is now grappling with controversy after controversy. Many believe this is due to what they describe as the company's increasing focus on a woke agenda, which some argue has led to a decline in quality and direction. This downfall became particularly noticeable under the leadership of Bob Iger, who stepped down as CEO, only to return after Bob Chapek's brief but problematic time in charge. The latest issue centers on the live-action remake of Snow White. The teaser trailer has been met with fierce criticism on social platforms, with YouTube showing an overwhelming number of dislikes and comment sections filled with harsh feedback. With the film slated for a March 2025 release, Disney is already facing an uphill battle to regain control of the narrative, and Rachel Zegler's involvement only adds fuel to the fire. Many fans blame her for contributing to the backlash, which casts doubt on the project's future success. And then there's Gal Gadot. Once hailed as a celebrated star for her role as Wonder Woman, Gadot is now caught in Disney's latest scandal. After moving on from her iconic superhero role, she took on the part of the evil queen in Snow White. But even that hasn't been enough to shield her from criticism. Fans have been so disillusioned by the project that some have even suggested that Gadot and Zegler should have swapped roles, a clear sign of how negatively the remake is being received. Let's dive into how this entire situation escalated and why Gal Gadot is now at odds with Disney, as the company faces yet another major controversy. Gadot was cast as the evil queen in Disney's live-action Snow White remake, but the casting decision immediately sparked backlash and jokes. Many fans felt that the roles were miscast, with some arguing that Gadot would have been a better choice for Snow White. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler's controversial behavior and outspoken comments only added fuel to the fire, making her seem more fitting for the role of the evil queen instead. This sentiment has been circulating ever since filming started in 2022, especially as Zegler's woke stance drew more criticism. Things have gotten so bad that fans are now even commenting on how the evil queen looks more attractive than Snow White herself, a strong indication that something has gone terribly wrong with this production. As the movie's 2025 release date approaches, the expectations aren't looking good. Snow White is already shaping up to be one of Disney's biggest failures, both in terms of marketing and audience reception. Even Disney's upcoming Mufasa movie seems to have a brighter future compared to Snow White, which has become synonymous with controversy, primarily due to Zegler's involvement. According to inside sources, Gal Gadot is reportedly unhappy with how the production has unfolded, leaving many to wonder what went wrong and how Disney plans to address the fallout. By the time filming wrapped in 2022, it was evident that things behind the scenes weren't as smooth as Disney tried to present. Gadot, who had been promised significant creative input and involvement in the film's marketing strategy, quickly realized that those promises were empty. What started as excitement over her portrayal of the evil queen turned into frustration as changes were made without her input, leading her to feel betrayed by the studio. One of the major issues involved the musical aspect of the film. Snow White was always intended to be a musical, and although Gadot's acting was praised, her performance in the musical numbers was met with criticism. Reports suggest that female audiences were particularly unimpressed, doubting her ability to carry the musical segments. While male viewers seemed more forgiving, likely influenced by her star power, and beauty, women found her singing to be weak and her musical presence lacking. This feedback sent Disney executives, including CEO Bob Iger, into a state of panic. Gadot's performance was now being called into question, and the negative reactions from key audience groups only increased the pressure. Director Mark Webb attempted to ease the situation by discussing the concerns with Gadot and her team, but the damage had already been done. Gadot, feeling betrayed and overwhelmed, reportedly had a breakdown, realizing that the creative control and input she was promised had been completely undermined. This only worsened the tensions between her and the studio, leaving the entire production in a state of disarray. Disney executives have further strained their relationship with Gal Gadot by going back on promises made to her, leaving her in an increasingly difficult position. Initially, Gadot was assured that she would have some creative control over her role, as well as input on marketing strategies for the Snow White remake. However, these promises were quickly retracted, putting Gadot in direct conflict with Disney's upper management. The situation has escalated, with Gadot and her team taking a firm stance against the studio. Unfortunately for Gadot, her career, which had already taken a hit after the Wonder Woman franchise fell apart, is now in jeopardy once again. What was once a rising star has now lost much of its shine, and the ongoing Snow White drama is doing little to help her rebuild her reputation. The tensions on set have only worsened due to the strained relationship between Gadot and her co-star, Rachel Zegler. Sources reveal that the two actresses have clashed repeatedly during production, resulting in miscommunication and constant disagreements. This ongoing friction is affecting the film's marketing efforts, as reports suggest that multiple planned promotional events have been canceled. Disney now faces the challenge of figuring out how to navigate this tense situation, as both actresses appear unwilling to take part in joint press activities. The official reason for their absence? Scheduling conflicts, but insiders suggest that it's more about their reluctance to be seen together due to the drama unfolding behind the scenes. If Disney manages to get both Gadot and Zegler to promote the film together before its 2025 release, it will likely be the result of either a miracle or a significant financial incentive. However, Zegler's controversial actions have already cast a dark shadow over the film, and Gadot's involvement in this troubled project could harm her career even further. The pressing question now is whether this film can be saved or if it's destined to become another black mark on Disney's growing list of failures. Gal Gadot has found herself caught up in a mess she didn't anticipate, and it's clear that she's become somewhat of a victim in the disaster surrounding Disney's live-action Snow White. What started as excitement over her role as the evil queen has now turned into a series of missteps and broken promises. Both Gadot and her team are now struggling to figure out how to salvage the situation, as the damage done to the film has made it nearly impossible to promote effectively. Looking at the bigger picture, it's clear that many of Disney's recent live-action remakes seem unnecessary. Films like Snow White were already iconic and beloved in their original animated versions, making these new adaptations feel more like a hollow effort than a genuine improvement. By reviving these classics as live-action features, Disney often falls short of capturing the magic that made the originals so special. Worse, in many cases, these remakes end up changing the very essence of the story, leaving fans disappointed. By reimagining these timeless stories, Disney risks damaging the legacy of the very films that built its brand. Instead of honoring the originals, these modern adaptations frequently feel like awkward attempts to fit classic narratives into today's cultural landscape, often at the expense of what made the films great in the first place. This has led to a growing trend where cherished classics are not only being remade poorly but also criticized for deviating too far from the original vision. In today's world, Disney seems more focused on rewriting its history to fit a modern, woke agenda. The animated films that enchanted generations are now scrutinized for not aligning with contemporary values, as if Disney is implying that enjoying the originals was somehow wrong. The company seems to be urging audiences to accept these new versions as the right way to experience these stories, effectively undermining the legacy that made Disney what it is today. The irony is that Disney, once a beacon of timeless storytelling, now appears to be using its platform to reshape how we view its own classics, hinting that the old content was flawed. This shift is confusing and frustrating for longtime fans who hold the originals close to their hearts. As for Gal Gadot, her involvement in this chaotic project only worsens her career outlook. Following the collapse of the Wonder Woman franchise, this troubled Snow White remake has done little to help her rebuild her status. On the other hand, Rachel Zegler's controversial actions seem to be accelerating the film's downfall, making the situation even more disastrous. What do you think about this whole situation? Is Disney justified in making these changes, or are they undermining the legacy they built? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.